Okay, so let's talk about why loop diuretics will increase the urinary excretion of calcium and magnesium. And in order to understand this, we have to go to the thick ascending loop of Henle, which is the place where loop diuretics are going to work. But before we talk about how loop diuretics are going to inhibit this NKCC2 transporter in the thick ascending loop of Henle, let's go over the basic physiology of what's happening here, and then we can discuss how inhibiting this thing will actually lead to an increased excretion of calcium and magnesium. Okay, so first of all, normally what happens is once you reach the thick ascending loop of Henle, you're going to have this sodium, chloride, and potassium transport into the cells of the ascending loop of Henle. And what's going to happen here is that on the basolateral side, you're going to have chloride and potassium transport into the interstitium here. But what's really important is that potassium can also leak back out on the luminal side, the luminal membrane of the cells of the thick ascending loop of Henle. And when that happens, what you're doing is you're going to create this positive lumen potential, about approximately positive 7 millivolts of lumen potential compared to the interstitium. So this positive lumen potential is actually going to encourage positive ions, cations like calcium and magnesium, to go via paracellular transport across into the interstitium. So you're going to have paracellular transport of calcium and magnesium in the thick ascending loop of Henle because of this positive lumen potential created by potassium leaking back into the lumen. And it's not only the fact that potassium is leaking back into the lumen, it's also the fact that chloride, which is a negatively charged ion, is being transported into the interstitium. It's not leaking back with potassium. So this transport of chloride into the interstitium and this transport of or leak of potassium back into the lumen is going to lead to this positive lumen potential here. And that positive lumen potential encourages calcium and magnesium to be reabsorbed into the interstitium paracellularly. So now what happens is if you use loop diuretics, what it's going to do is loop diuretics actually compete for the chloride side of this transporter, this NKCC2 transporter. So in effect, this is not going to work anymore. So you're not going to have any more transport of sodium, potassium, and chloride through these cells of the thick ascending loop of Henle. And so basically, as you can imagine, is you're not going to have this chloride transport back into the interstitium, and you're not going to have as much potassium leak back into the lumen. So you're losing this positive lumen potential that you had generated before you were using the loop diuretic. So now you don't have this positive lumen potential, and that means that there's really no driving force for calcium and magnesium to go into the interstitium and be reabsorbed. So this process gets inhibited as well. And basically what that leads to is calcium and magnesium are going to stay in the lumen, and then they're going to be excreted into your urine. So that's the basic gist of why if you use a loop diuretic like furosemide, you're going to have an increased urinary concentration, an increased urinary excretion of ions such as calcium and magnesium.